Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pit Talk, pulling pits and opinions with your host, Gunny G. We back again with a special guest. But before I get there, follow, like, subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts on all social media platforms. Excuse me, and constructive criticism is greatly appreciated. If you like me, let me know. Hey, it's pretty good stuff. If you don't, I'll take it either way. But either way, follow, like, subscribe everywhere you get your podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a special guest hailing in from the East Coast. I totally forgot where you were stationed at. My boy, you'll tell me in a second. Hey, Ryan Boehringer, one of the two.
Boehringer.
Boehringer. I always give you a hard time. Don't worry about it. It's on purpose. Say hello to the listeners and where are you from? Where are you stationed at? Things like that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Keep going. Go
absolutely.
ahead.
How you doing, y'all? My name is Gunnery Sergeant Ryan Boehringer. I'm stationed at 2nd Spot Battalion, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Been out here for about 2 years. Did a complete different change of pace in life. I was in the West Coast for about 9 years before I came out here. So pretty cool being on the East Coast. Different change of life. Definitely way colder than I expected.
Hell yeah. It's hold on, dude. This thing is pissing me off. I apologize. I had to turn the ringer off. Did you hear the ring?
No?
Okay, good. Okay, so we're good. Don't worry. I become a video editor, audio editor after all this. So all this stuff it can come off. But anyways, 542. So let's get right into it. The meat and potatoes. Why we got you on? Adversity and resilience. Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna get right into the meat and potatoes. We got life and we got duty stations, and they kind of, for us in the military, they're the same pretty much. Everywhere we go, there's life. Everywhere we go, there's different situations. Friction, personalities. Can you tell me which duty station in your short time in the career in the organization, what has been the most challenging for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first duty station was Camp Pendleton. It was with 5th Battalion, 11th Marines. I did a TAD billet over to the 11th MEU after my second deployment with 511. So it was going on to my third deployment. Went on the 11th MEU and experienced a lot of hardships on that deployment. And I'll tell you that going into my third duty station at the depot is really where I felt it all. So it's kind of like a buildup. So it's not, I can't say that one duty station was worse than the other, but it was how I dealt with the situations that made the depot harder for me.
Hmm. Okay, so it's kind of built up to San Diego. Um, well, for the listeners, we were there together. Yes,
Yeah, my
you were
company,
you were
my to the death.
you're a brand new drone instructor, aka Bobby, right? Um,
Yeah,
and you're kind of snapping in there, and I was already on my second, I think third, maybe. I'm not sure when you came in, but around the second or third time frame for me. Um, how did that make that one so challenging? I know that at the SDA it's already challenging in itself, but you said it was a buildup. Can you explain that piece, please?
yeah, absolutely. So on the 11th MEU, I I don't know if you've ever been on ship before, but you're so close together, you're so close knit that the people who you think aren't going to be your best friends end up being your best friends because you spend every waking moment together. On that MEU, I made a best friend who was from New York. So I'm originally from California, so a completely different coast, different upbringing, but same family values, same ability to go to the gym and just work out together, spend time together. And then on every Liberty port, we spent a lot of time together. It wasn't until closing in on the 6th month of deployment, he unfortunately took his life.
Hmm.
And I was very close with the situation. It, I was with him the whole entire night, and it was as weird as him saying like, "Hey man, I got to make a head call." And I'm like, "Okay man, I'll be right here for you when you get back." And he never came back.
Wow.
So coming off of that deployment and really bottling that all up because I didn't know who to turn to talk to about it, in fear of, man, I really got this dream ahead of me. I want to be a drill instructor. I don't want somebody to worry about me. I want anyone to talk to me. And then kind of going through that into that SDA was difficult. It was difficult to kind of hold that all back and act like nothing happened. So
Yeah,
that's kind of like the Cliff Note version of that.
yeah, because I know you go through a mental health screening before you go to the SDA. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know what
Yeah,
happened.
that
I'm sure that everything was okay going to this SDA, but um, that sucks, man. So you know, obviously for you, it's a life thing, right? That somebody, a person, affected you as in the organization while you were in the uniform, right? Let me ask you this, personally and professionally, right? There's obviously you know what you do professionally as when you wear the uniform, but personally outside, you know, how did those two things get affected, and were they affected in any way?
yeah, absolutely. So I guess it's a two part. So I was also previously married as well. I'm on my second marriage now, and I think it's very important for the young listeners to hear that. I mean, you can have someone in the Marine Corps who stands in front of you, might look up to you, you might not know what they struggled with before. Coming off that deployment, I went from kind of back to back to back. Deployment after deployment after deployment, straight into an SDA, and then kind of bottling in all of the things that were happening. On top of that, having a failing marriage to not go home to. I mean, as you know, the SDA at the time, we were not going home a lot. We're not spending a lot of time with the ones that we should be, and kind of coming home and faking the funk over something that I had an idea was not the best at home, but I wasn't really getting the honest answer. Going home and feeling like a stranger in your own home, something's weird, something's off.
Yeah,
It has completely affected my personal and professional career. I
yeah,
started pushing away my closest friends, the ones who I deployed with and then went to the depot with. I pushed away people who I could rely on because I acted like I had it all under control.
yeah.
But the good therapy for me was I had recruits to scream at. So it wasn't too difficult for me for someone to say, you know, hey, you're not screaming at him because I had a lot to scream about. It just was productive in their training. So
That's
yeah,
awesome. I mean, it's not funny that you were going through, but it's awesome that you found a way to cope with mental health, right?
it
Um,
was definitely an outlet.
yeah, for sure. You were good at it too. You were good at it. I remember. I remember you're because you're tall and scary. I think it's the tall and the eyebrows thing, right? Because we both have thick eyebrows. I think that's what
That's
like
it.
makes us super scary, right? But anyways,
Especially us bald too. Whew.
that's good, man. That's crazy. I know that you were going through it in San Diego because I remember when I left, you were still there, and that stuff happened. And not that I was a bad friend or a good friend. I would say that I was not a good friend because I wasn't available. But at the same time, you were on your own little path in Mike, and then I went quota, and I went to the, you know, the support companies, and that's where we lost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
were still in training companies. All none of the schedules jived, and you know I was pretty salty. You know how that whole ordeal went, and so
absolutely.
that's crazy, man. Professionally though, like, so you talk about it was a good mental outlet, but once it was all said and done, now you PCS. There's a lot of time. What's happening now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would say that that's a two part because when we talk about resiliency, it's not something that you're just born with. You know, you don't just wake up and realize that a hard situation happens and you're like, oh, okay, I'm cool with that. No worries. I don't think any human can do that. And
Yeah,
if so, please let me know because I'd love to meet you and sit you down and figure out how the heck you do it.
yeah,
Uh, me, I think the biggest thing is when you take a step back the question that I've learned to ask myself is what are you surrendering to?
mm,
And that might be like a four-part question, right? But what are you surrendering to means to me, like you see a lot of Marines that they go straight into substance abuse. I'm experiencing this, and so I'm falling into this. I I'm doing this because of that. So I mean, it could be anything: substance abuse. It could be work, like overworking, pushing everyone aside and overworking.
mm,
It could be I don't know. I don't have to come up with all of them.
A
I'm sure
plethora
there's a
of
listener here could
yeah,
plethora, right? For me up front, especially at the depot, it was overworking. I was surrendering myself to the work. I pushed away um, my whole entire personal life just to focus on what I was doing. Because if I could forget about everything except the training schedule, it didn't matter.
yeah,
So when it came to my professional life and moving over to the PCS, there was a time at the depot where I got really mad. I was I was in my truck. I was angry. And to just preface, I'm a man of faith. And I remember watching a couple hold hands on Family Day. And I was in my truck trying to leave. I got so mad.
yeah,
I started screaming in my truck. And they weren't doing anything wrong. They look great. Good on them. But I was mad, and I was like I was like, God, why? Like how am I doing all these things and I feel like I'm being punished?
yeah,
And it was at that moment where even in a fit of anger, I was surrendering myself to God.
yeah,
And I was like, show me what to do. Show me how to live my life.
yeah,
I started going to church. I went to North Coast on the west coast. North Coast is over in Vista. So I started going over there, started going to church, started really digging in deep to my relationship with Christ. And man, I'll tell you, there was a weight lifted off my shoulders. It wasn't until months later I'm over on Instagram, and my now wife had posted something on Instagram that said worship song. It was like a on her story, a worship song that made her feel a certain way. And I saw it. I listened to the song, and I was like, "Oh, I like that." And I sent her a direct message. I slid in her DMs, if you may. And I said, "I really enjoyed that," and here we are now, right? So I mean, it worked out. I think God led a way through all the stress and all of that. I think you learn professionally how to refocus who you are instead of I'm going to focus on me and only work on my work and push everyone away. I opened up, got to be honest with my parents, what was going on, what I was struggling with, the people around me. And then it re energized me to refocus for the Marines in the fleet and say, what can I do to make them better,
yeah.
better focused on their lives, not only work related, but home as well.
That's crazy. That's crazy because I think about McMap. You got mind, body, soul, kind not verbatim, but spiritual, a spiritual warfighter, right? You got to be spiritually sound in here, right? You got to have the why, and sometimes the why is bigger than just you, right? And what you're facing. And for you, it sounds like a spiritual outlet became what it what got you through the rest of San Diego and where you're at now. Um,
Yeah.
that's crazy, but not but and excuse me, and but is like a contradicting your sentence, but and to top it off, it sounded like you said you had to be honest with yourself, right? So
Absolutely.
in terms of providing tools to young service members and or just individuals, right? Because us in the uniform, we struggle too. We're not just robots, right? We're
Yeah,
people.
no
We
way.
have feelings too, right? And if you had one opportunity to help somebody or tell somebody or stop somebody from doing something, what would that tangible thing? What can you? Hey, look, you're going through this. Here's what you do. You're going through that. This is what you shouldn't do. Blah blah blah. Right? Can you provide something like that for the listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, I'm just gonna, go back to what I said earlier. First of all, ask yourself the question: what are you surrendering yourself to?
Hmm.
Take a look at the adversity that you're going through. Think about how am I refocusing my attention? Because what I learned is that if you just push everything off, it's going to catch up, and it's going to fall hard.
Hmm.
It's going to get you quick. So the don't do is don't suppress your emotions. Don't suppress what's going on and act like it hasn't happened because it has. And it's
Yeah.
going to catch up. And what I would do is look at what you're surrendering your time to and what you're focusing on. And it's going to be many different paths for other people. Some it's working out. Some it's just getting that natural endorphin, that natural high. For some it's like fasting. Like, I'm going to make sure that I go 1 to 2 days without doing this, so I can kick the alcohol, the tobacco, the whatever. But ultimately, one thing that I did learn is to build a relationship in someone or something. Through the church, for me, it was building a relationship with a mentor who could help me refocus everything that was going on. And
Yeah.
it helped me be more honest with the people who I work with. So the do for me is find help because you can't do it alone. And
Yeah.
whether that be spiritually or someone that you can rely on. But
That's
don't
good.
just keep it to yourself.
That's good because I was talking to another service member, and they were talking about um who's in your circle, right? You see it a lot on social media. Show me who you hang out with, and I'll tell you who you really are, right? And he was
Yeah,
talking about if you hang out with nine dumbasses, that's what he said. Quote, I'm quoting again, nine dumb asses, right? Don't be the 10th, right? Because
right.
it doesn't make sense, right? If unfortunately for us as individuals, our parents say not to do something, and then we're curious enough to be like, well, what are they talking about that we can't do? And so we do it, and then we're like, oh,
Oh, we shouldn't have done that.
that's what they meant, right? And
Yeah,
unfortunately, I see a lot of things too. Is you life, right? You learn from your mistakes more than you do from you know that what you're prepared for, right? I don't know why that is. It's just how the cookie crumbles. And then we tell our kids, right, for your future kids, hey, don't do this because I'm telling you it's not going to work. And then they're going to still go and do it, right?
right.
But the problem is, I think we got to really we got to really preach is just like you say, it's like, what are we surrendering ourselves to? Not only that, but why are we not acting like children and soaking everything that we can possibly learn in, right? Why does it change when we become an adult? When kids want
Right.
something. I said this previous on one of my under interviews with a serviceman. I said, why does it change all of a sudden when you become an adult? When you're a kid, you're hungry. What do you do?
You just feed yourself all the information,
No,
everything.
you ask your parents, right?
Yeah,
So you ask, hey, can I do this? Can I do that? Can we meet? Can we? Oh, I'm hungry, Dad. Can you make something? Mom, can you do this? Blah blah. Always why? Asking why, right? And always soaking that in, and then all of a sudden we become an adult and we think we know everything. But then we fail, and then they're your parents with open arms, like I told you. I don't know what you want me to say. Like I'm sorry that you're going through it, but why does it
yeah.
change? You still, if have you been married for 20 plus years?
No, I've not.
And neither have I. So I'm gonna go ask somebody, hey, I'm going through it. I need marriage advice. Somebody that has like 20 plus years, right? Because it makes sense. It looks and sounds successful, right?
Right,
Nothing is perfect. So you always gotta, just like you say, you gotta look for something in someone that's gonna benefit you. It sounds like, and the mentor, whatever that mentor provides you, spiritual, financial, whatever it is that you're looking for, it sounds like that's what you need. And to put it, long story short, it sounds like for you, Ryan, um, divorce was the biggest catalyst for your alignment towards your relationship with Christ. Yes,
yeah, absolutely,
it kind of showed you where you were at in life, didn't it?
absolutely. It really did.
That's
I'll
crazy.
tell you, I was definitely chasing the Marine Corps. I was chasing it.
Yeah.
There's a deployment coming up. Put me on.
Mm,
There's this to do. Let me do it.
yeah.
I ate it up. I did
That's,
everything that I could to refocus. And I don't know if you remember me at the depot. I was like, I'm getting out.
oh
I'm
yeah,
done.
yeah, yeah. That's right.
I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to get out. If it weren't for COVID, I'm telling you, I probably would have gotten out.
That's
Uh,
crazy.
it's weird, but I think that's also for me and talking to my mentors and talking to the community that I'm in now. I have some call it a life group with my church now, and talking to everyone. It seemed like a wake up call
Yeah,
from the Lord Himself, but to say, "Hey, you could still be successful because these Marines need you.
yeah,
They need you." And it's now a refocus. When I got a Marine who's messing up, there's a lot of grace to say, "Hey, I've been there.
Yeah.
I
That's
know
good.
what you're going through. Maybe not exactly, but to speak life into someone is a lot more fulfilling. Really,
Yeah.
it helps
That's
having
good.
that mentor, to have a mentee to say, "Hey, man, what the heck is going on? Let me
Yeah.
show you something. Pick up, pick up your wing. Come on, get underneath this wing. I got you."
Yeah. Yeah. For
To
sure.
watch young service members grow from that is rewarding. It really is.
That's good, Ryan. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you just had a baby. Congratulations. I know this is
Thank you very much.
uh number one.
Yeah,
Boy or girl?
number
You know,
one,
boy or
baby
girl?
girl,
Baby girl. Oh
baby
boy.
girl. Yeah,
You know how when you go fishing, right? You reel that hook with that little J hook, little hook they got for the fish. You know who
yep.
the reel is for you when you get older? Your daughter. Daddy, 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 right?
Yeah, I bet.
I have a teenage daughter. Hey, just so I know you're listening, but I have a teenage daughter. She's 16, right? And I go, I'm paying for my wife for little, her little things that she likes, and she's there watching, right? I go, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, mama. I say, you're gonna get your own husband pretty soon. Not anytime soon, but down the road soon, right? And she goes, no, daddy, that's why I have you. Can I have this? And then she'll do the little face thing and put her the eyes. And then I'm like, oh, all right, all right. I can't say no because all I'm doing is setting her future husband up for failure. You know what I'm saying? That's
High
what that's it.
expectations.
That's right. Hey, that's a little tool for your toolbox, Ryan. Just set
I
the bar
appreciate that, girl. Thank you.
super high, super high, super high. Hey, but I appreciate you coming on, man. I know being honest, transparent for the listeners, for whoever listens to you, right? Being open and
Yeah,
honest
absolutely.
takes a lot of courage. And thank you for being open and honest about your divorce, about San Diego transitioning to the fleet, and then refocusing your what your purpose really is, and sharing how that helped you. I appreciate you being honest with that. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, man, how do they get a hold of you? What's your social media handles? If you have any emails, this, that, and the other.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I have Facebook and Instagram. It's gonna be really tough, but it's Ryan Boehringer. Crazy. No dots in between, just everything all together. Pretty. No, they're pretty easy to find. If anyone wants to get a hold of me, please do. We could talk. Uh, this is not just a podcast. Vomit everything that I got and then chuck the deuces and figure it
Yeah.
all out. Good luck. Being a mentor is something that I really, really enjoy doing. So thank you for the time. Thank you for having me on, Israel. Great to see your face. And
Hey, don't be a
hey,
stranger now. You got my
cool.
number. No, you got my number.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
Absolutely.
ladies and gentlemen, this is Pit Talk, pulling pits and opinions with your host, Gunny G, and we out.